Welcome back to my channel. So these are the final 3 fans installed on the top of my case. What's nice is that you can daisy chain the 3 fans together. And if you look at here, the back there, that's where the cable goes. And it's only one cable because these are daisy chained together. So no need for 3 different cables, just one cable on this fan. So obviously this exhaust fan has its own cable. This GPU intake fan has its own cable too over there. And obviously the radiator fan, the 2 radiator fans have their own cables too. So if you notice these 3 fans are intake fans. They are not exhaust fans. Okay, they're intake fans. I explained in my last video that I'm trying to make a positive airflow. So I'm trying to make positive airflow. So there's gonna be more air coming into the case than going out, but not a lot more. Just a little bit more. Because these 2 are exhaust fans, right? Because they're radiator fans. So is this one. And this is intake. This is intake. So we have 4 intake fans and 3 exhaust fans. So there's 1 less exhaust fan. But these 2 are bigger fans. They're 140 each. So it's very close. So I think ideally you want neutral airflow, so you want the same amount of fans coming in and out. But in my case, I couldn't achieve that because I had bought the wrong AIO. So this case doesn't actually fit a 280. It shouldn't be fitting it, but I got it to fit. So because I did that, I had to change the entire configuration of the case. Because the standard configuration of this case is that the top is where the AIO should go. The CPU cooler should be on top. That's the natural configuration. And then the 3 fans here should be either exhaust or intake. I believe usually they're intake by default. But in this case, I had to install the only place I can install my AIO was here on the side. So I had to install the intake fans on top. So that's why it's on top. So these fans, that cable from these fans comes in here and it connects on the motherboard, this fan header here. I don't have a separate fan controller. I do have a fan controller for the AIO, the NZXT Kraken Elite. However, that RGB control, that fan controller can only support 3 connections. So the rest of the fans can't connect to it. Because I'm already using up like 2 of those connections, I think. And so I don't have another fan controller, so I have to use the motherboard fan controllers. So right now I'm using, I believe, 2 of them. So this is 1 fan controller that controls the top ones, and then this one right here, this controls the exhaust. Oh no, I'm using 3 of them, I'm sorry. So this one top controls the exhaust fan. This one on the side here, right under the LED light, controls these top fans. And then this guy, the GPU input, the GPU fan, see a little wire right there? It goes right there. I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of unclear. There. That's the another fan header right there. So there's 3 fan headers being used right now. If you can look at it right there. There it is, yeah. That's right, that thing right there. That's a fan header. That powers this fan right here. And so that's for power only. For RGB, there's a separate line. So that line right there is an RGB line that's connected to this fan. And it's connected to basically the chassis RGB connections. So you know how I have a chassis button I have buttons on top to control RGB. So I can change the colors. Let me show you the mode. So we're gonna switch modes. The colors will change. Yeah, now I change it to like a red mode. So all the fans change except for the Kraken AIO. Why is that? Because the Kraken AIO is not connected to that case. It's controlled by NZXT's own controller. So it's controlled by the I forgot the name of the software. IQ software, I think it's called. So yeah, it's controlled by the NZXT software. But the other fan, the case fans, all are controlled by the case itself. There you go. And it doesn't even need software. It's just connected to these buttons here. So we have this different color scheme going on. It's flashing one, and then another one. This one's like blue and yellow, I think, or blue and orange. And if it just keep on shifting these molds, the colors will just keep on changing. Oh, this one's like purple. This one's kind of nice. Kind of like this one. Yeah, I like this color because it actually kind of reminds me of the NZXT purple. I think NZXT has like a purple in its branding, or at least purplish. So this reminds me of like the NZXT branding. Yeah, so this is all like purplicious. Yeah, I like this color, it's kind of soothing. So right now, so these are PWM fans, so they're controllable. I believe the fan speed right now is at its maximum. I'm not sure. It might be at 2,000 RPMs. Because I believe these fans max settings might be 2,000 RPMs. And I think they're at max right now. I think by default my motherboard BIOS controls that, so it's at 2,000. And the fans are noticeable. Their sound, the fans give off a noticeable sound. You can probably hear it. Yeah, it's not quiet. It's I would say it's loud, but it's definitely you can hear it. But I think these are at max speeds. Yeah, the airflow definitely is good. I can feel a lot of air coming in. So this temperature on the AIO is the liquid temperature. So the liquid temperature doesn't really get affected by these fans because the liquid's inside the AIO. It's inside the tubing, right? And inside the radiator. So the liquid naturally, when I first turned on the AIO, the liquid was at 27 degrees, which makes sense because as the CPU gets hot, the liquid heats up. So that's why the liquid starts getting hotter too. So right now it's at 29. So I noticed that I kind of idle at around 29 or 30 max. I think even playing like when I was playing Skyrim on here, like I did a little test of Skyrim on here, it was at 30 degrees and it wasn't going higher. And Skyrim's an older game, so it probably doesn't stress anything. And also, I don't even have a GPU installed. So it's just using integrated graphics on the CPU. Yeah. And I'm able to play Skyrim on ultra settings with this integrated GPU. The chip I have is the Ryzen 7 7800 X3D. So that chip is the fastest gaming chip. And it has a pretty decent integrated graphics too. It has an integrated GPU in there too, so it's pretty nice. So to play older games, you don't even need a GPU, basically. Like really old games. I mean, we're talking about 10-year-old games. So this build is pretty much complete. I just had to, the only thing left is just add the graphics card. And maybe some more memory. I only have 32 gigs right now. I can add more memory. Because I bought 64 gigs. So I can add 2 more DIMMs. This build was relatively like easy. I did make some mistakes because this case doesn't support 140 millimeter fans. So when I bought my 280 millimeter AIO, it doesn't actually fit this case. But I did some research online and on Reddit, and some guy was able to install this in here just the same way I did, basically on the side like this. Yeah. But just so you know, this is installable, but it's not ideal because it's literally held in place by friction because of these grommets over here and the side of the case right here. It's literally placed here by friction, but it's not gonna fall down because it's really flush. And also, see that wire right there on top? Yeah, that wire is part of this fan and a radiator, and and I prop it up using that. It's a kind of like a zip tie. So it's a Phanteks zip tie. So I'm able to zip tie it through that hole there, and it holds it up. So even if it slid down, it will still hold it up. It won't completely collapse down or out. And it's important to install a high here, because if you've watched other videos about proper AIO installation, your AIO, the radiator should be above the CPU. So see how this is higher than the CPU? Then you're okay. Yeah. And the suggested configuration is for the tubing to be down, not up, okay? It's better to be down. The tubing can be up as long as the whole radiator is above the CPU socket, because this is where the cooler socket goes into. But if it's down, it's preferable still, okay? So still preferable that the tubing's down and that the AIO itself is above. So let's just say I install this word. Let's just say, so you see there's space over there where the mesh is. Let's just say I push this all the way down and install it lower. Then I think it'd be worse, because then I'm not sure the radiator will be, the top of the radiator will be in line with the CPU, because it has to be either the same height or above, preferably even above it, okay? And this has to do with air bubbles and just like the science of how the liquid flows and things like that, and hot air and just a lot of lot of science stuff that I'm not gonna get into, but if you watch other channels like Gamers Nexus or Jay's 2 Cents, you know, you can, they explain it really well. Okay, but this is the proper configuration. Now, obviously, an even better configuration would be to install this on top. Then you're definitely safe, because the entire radiator and fans will be on top. And it'll definitely be obviously on top of the CPU. That's the, I guess, preferred installation configuration. It's weird, I'm not getting good focus. There you go. But like I said, I can't install on top because the top specifically can only support the drilled holes on top, can only support these 120 fans like I have up here, and these are 140. Yeah. I also read that someone was able to install on top because they used some kind of like fan size bracket, like a bracket that changes the fan size. So that, I guess if you want to invest money in brackets to convert 140 fans into 120 fans, meaning that at least the brackets are like 120, so that you can at least screw them in, even though the fans itself will probably still overlap, you know, the top a bit, but at least it'll fit with 120 brackets. But I didn't really research that because I think it costs money, because I had to buy probably 3 separate fan brackets to resize my current brackets. No, I guess I would buy 2 because it's 2 fans, right? So I would have to buy 2 of them. 2 of these to make these, instead of 140, like the screw holes are at 140 right now, to make them smaller so that they can be 120 instead. Yeah. But I think it will look kind of funky too. It just wouldn't look right. But someone said it works. They tried it, so they were even able to install, in this case, on top, a 280 AIO. Yeah, which is pretty neat what people can do. So, you know, that was the major problem I had with this case. So that's the first problem I had. And then the second problem was more of a minor problem, where the cables that came with the PSU were not long enough, which is apparently often the case with these PSUs. So I had to buy these extension cables like this one. See the braided one? It's actually really nice. So this is also from Phanteks. So a lot of the stuff I bought was actually from the same brand. Like the fans are from Phanteks, the cables, the case. So I think buying it from the manufacturer, the same manufacturer, does help in ease of build, because you know it's gonna fit. Things are gonna fit right, most likely. And about that, that's a CPU cable that goes into the PSU also. So that's also an extension cable. So just of note, I think you're supposed to install the extension cables into the existing wires or the existing cables that came with your power supply. I don't think it's recommended to just like replace those cables with these, because I don't think they're supposed to be replaced. They're not supposed to be replaceable cables. They're just extensions. Okay, so just make note of that. Don't just plug these directly into your power supply. These are meant for extensions. They're meant when your original cables are too short, basically. Okay, and these are really nice because these are 500 millimeters, so 50 centimeters long, which is quite long. So they're very flexible. They're very usable in bigger cases even. Like this is the NV5 case, so it's not a very big case. You know, this case is your standard mid tower. It's not a small case, but it's not a big case. Okay, it's a mid tower. So these cables will work in like a large tower, like your standard tower case. You know, like maybe like NV7 or NV9 even. You know, yeah. Because I noticed a lot of these extension cables that you buy, they are only 30 centimeters long. So this is very generous length. They give you 50 centimeters instead of 30. 30 centimeters is around a foot. It's a little bit under a foot long. And I find that not long enough for some cases, actually. Yeah. Especially my PSU. My PSU came with very, very short wires. Because my PSU is a SFX form factor, so it was meant for like an ITX case or like maybe like a mini ATX. So it wasn't really meant to be installed in an ATX to a larger case. So that's why I had to buy these extension cables, because my power supply was also really small and it came with short cables. I'm assuming it comes with short cables because it's meant for SFX, right? Form factor. Because SFX, you don't need large cables because you don't want large cables. It's gonna take up too much room and clutter your case. Because your case is the assumption is your case is small, like it's ITX or around that size, right? Yeah. All right, so this is it for this video. Like I said, the only thing left really is to add the GPU. And obviously if I do that, then I'll definitely be making another video about that. Right now, I've been already testing the system out for hours, stress testing it, and it's been running perfectly fine. I even undervolted this GPU a little bit because I just read that undervolting the 7800 is really a good idea because you get the same performance and you actually save on temps. Because this CPU is not exactly a very cool CPU. It can get kind of hot, not overly hot, but it can under gaming stress and load. So the recommendation is that you might as well just undervolt it, because if you undervolt it, you're gonna get the same performance and you're gonna reduce your temps by like 3 to 5 degrees, maybe even a little bit more than that. Yeah. So I've noticed that I've undervolted it by like a little bit, and how do you undervolt? Like I can always have a video showing you how to do that. And so this is an MSI motherboard. So in the BIOS there's certain settings you can do to undervolt your CPU. Same with any other Asus or Gigabyte or any other brand name motherboard manufacturer. You can do the same thing in their BIOS. Okay, and I imagine it's a very similar process to this. But obviously, my process was specific to MSI, and I found some resources online to do so. But if you're interested in me showing you how to undervolt the 7800 X3D, yeah, just let me know in the comments if you want to see that video. But yeah, that's it. So this build is pretty much... So I started this build envisioning it to be a pure white build, and one of the first things I bought for this build was a white motherboard, a stealth motherboard, which has back connectors. It's a really cool motherboard. It's a Gigabyte Aorus Stealth, and it's only sold in Asia. I'm in Taiwan, so it's Taiwan's one of the few countries that has it right now in stock. So I bought it. However, my friend from the US, he really wanted that board, so he bought it from me. And I couldn't refuse because, he gave me, he would even pay a little bit extra just for me to send it to him. So I basically sent it to him. And I decided to just buy another board, and I ended up buying this MSI board, which is not as good of a board, or at least feature-wise, because that board was a B650E, and the E just means that it supports PCIe 5. And which allows for PCIe 5 graphic cards. So that means that board is a little bit more future-proof than this board, because this board doesn't have the E. This is the B650 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi board by MSI. It's still a good board. It's a pretty good board. It has pretty good reviews, but this board won't support your next generation GPUs. So like next year, when NVIDIA and if AMD releases more graphics cards, I don't know about that, but I know that NVIDIA is definitely releasing their 50 series, and the 50 series requires actually, I believe, PCIe 5. So that means this motherboard will be obsolete if I want to buy that GPU. Okay. Now I'm undecided yet if I'm buying a 550 series GPU yet. Probably will be buying one just so I could review it for you guys, but right now I have two GPUs. I have a 4070 Super, and I have another GPU that it's a secret, and I'm not gonna divulge what it is, but it's a surprise. But I will definitely be showing off that GPU soon. All right, guys. Thanks for watching again. Sorry about the long video, and hope you learned something. Please subscribe and like the video. It would really help the channel grow. And I'm giving away this 4070 Super once I reach 500 subscribers. That's it. Just 500. I have 6 right now. It would be great if you guys can subscribe. And once we hit 500, I'm giving this away. And you have a really good chance of getting it or winning it. Alright, thanks guys. See you later.